This is the third day of this October 1981 7-day sesshin. And we will continue with Basui. There's only a few words left of his biography, and then read one of the letters. It's taken from the 3 Pillars of Zen. Although Basui disliked the designation temple or monastery, Kogakuji at its apogee, with more than 1,000 monks and lay devotees, could hardly be described as a hermitage. Basui was a rigid disciplinarian, and of the 33 rules he promulgated for the behavior of his disciples, interestingly enough, the first prohibited the imbibing of alcohol in any form. Only this one statement gives one a clue what he may have disliked about the distractions of monasteries that he was reported to have felt. Maybe there was a lot of sake drinking going on. But that's only one rule. He promulgated 32 others. Be interesting to know what these rules all were. And what the effect of them was. You see something in human beings that you don't like, you think is wrong, out of bounds. Does a rule change behavior profoundly? Since the existence of religious movements, educational movements, and political movements, there has been the imposition of rules. But human behavior has not changed. There's a very charming little booklet of a Dutchman in a Japanese monastery, how they used to go out on the binge at night, and how one time he was so drunk he fell right through the paper screen. It was also interesting. And in the morning, while he was still out, it took him a long time to come to. He was so drunk. The paper screen had been fixed by the monks. Nothing was ever said about it. Maybe there was some communion, some understanding. We talked about rules yesterday, how they facilitate relationship among groups of people, and how some rules are necessary. But does everybody understand them? Really understand them? And is there this effort made to make them understandable? Or are they just imposed? You better follow or else you don't belong. And how does a rule affect one? One has to look at this oneself. Does it impose, hold up an idealized behavior, which creates the chasm between the way I am and the way I should be? So I look toward that idealized behavior, feeling guilty about the way I am, or not even looking, not even daring to look at how I am, which is the essential thing, to know how I am, from moment to moment, and with an awareness, with an understanding in which there is no judgment. Unless that can take place, there can be no fundamental change in a human being. Because change comes out of clear seeing and clear understanding, not out of imposition of rules. What is this clear seeing? It's no trifling matter. It's hard work, as one person said. Arduous work to attend to what one wants to look away from. Rather think, well, I'm going to be like that eventually. I'm resolving it all the time, I'm vowing it, so this must have some effect or other. But to see. 6 Patriarchs, when he talks about the first vow, it's a beautiful rendering of this vow. Who are all these numberless sentient beings, these numberless beings I vow to deliver? They are the jealous, the envious, the ambitious, the angry beings within myself. And delivering means to see them, to see it. If you're so imbued with ideals, you can only look through those thick glasses of ideals and rules, and you don't see. You judge, you condemn, or you look away. Or else you're overwhelmed with guilt. Guilt often being just the fear of being found out how one is, fear of retribution. Whereas retribution and past karma may vanish in the seeing, in which there is no me, no judge, swinging a whip, the whip of the past, indoctrination. Past experiences, etc. So often it's found that when rigid rules are lifted, or one moves away from where there are rigid rules, one immediately does all of those things, and to an exaggerated degree. Nothing has been resolved. It's just been held under pressure. People come here and they say, I need discipline. Please give it to me. I need discipline. What do you really need? Do you need to find out why you need discipline? If you really need to find that out, what's underneath this need, then there will be discipline in your life, because you need to find out. You will find that without a certain discipline, and in this word discipline is the word learning. A disciple is one who learns, who is learning. Used to be in universities, was called the discipline of mathematics, the discipline of science. It means that whole field of learning. If you need to find out something, then you will realize you have to get your act together. Why let other people get your act together for you? With this comes dependency, but not change, not understanding. Which again does not mean that one advocates wanton behavior, doing what one wants to do. At any one instant, whimsically. But doesn't one need to find out why this is so if one wants to find out? If one doesn't want to find out, one won't even ask any questions. One will live this way and run into great difficulties eventually. Just before he passed away, at the age of 60, Basui sat up in the lotus posture and to those gathered around him said, "Don't be misled. Don't be misled. Look directly. What is this?" He repeated this loudly. "Don't be misled. Look directly. Don't be misled. What is this?" And then he calmly died. This is the first of the letters to a man from Kumasaka, or Kumasaka. You asked me to write you how to practice Zen on your sickbed. Who is he? Who is he that is sick? Who is he that is practicing Zen? Do you know who you are? Do you know who you are? May have become such a grind with one to question who, that this immensity of the question somehow has gotten lost. Do I know who I am? What do I know about myself? I certainly know what I've been told I am by my parents, teachers, friends, at work, in school. You're a brain. People say, you're a brain. Boy, it makes you feel good. Maybe really an insult. All these images one has gathered, and one clings to about oneself. I'm pretty, I'm attractive, I'm ugly, I'm a loser. Images. Or what one wants to be. One has read heroes, heroines, wants to be like that, so there's that image. Or just wanting to be heard, wanting to be accepted, wanting to be recognized, approved of. So one sort of puts oneself forward so that this may happen. It's an everlasting, never satisfied urge. It's a starvation syndrome. It can be so subtle and must be observed with great attention. Even to oneself, one may talk or one may acknowledge what one has done and derive a little satisfaction from it, but it always falls into a vacuum, into a bottomless pit. Who am I? Who are you? Recently in the Teisho, in the last on period, we read from a play by Thich Nhat Hanh that Vietnamese Zen master, who made a play, a very gripping play out of a tragic episode that happened in Vietnam where 5 young people who were working at the school for social service which he founded were at night interrogated and driven, hoarded or whatever you call it, to a river and shot. 4 of them dropped into the river, 1 of them survived. And this play is about a boat going down the river with these 4 characters in there. They're very lively. They're dead, but they're very, very much alive and dialoguing and talking. The one who's driving is a nun, is rowing the boat is a nun who had previously immolated herself through fire. There's one place in this play which really is very extraordinary. One of these 4 was a seminarian, a monk-to-be, novice or something. And he says, at the instant, I'd recited that Prajnaparamita all my life, but at the instant when that gun really pointed right toward me, then I understood this Prajnaparamita. And the other say, hey, how did you understand? What do you mean? What do you understand about it? And he said, when that man pointed that gun at me, I realized all of a sudden, clearly, that he didn't know who I was. Had he known, he wouldn't have shot me. It was a mistake. And another one says, now wait a minute. We were interrogated for a long time. They knew that you were a member of the School for Social Service. No, he said. And unfortunately, I don't have this here. I lent it out. Don't have it back. Yeah, he knew this name, this label. These are my own words. I don't know what Thich Nhat Hanh used. But he didn't know who I was. Neither, for that matter, did that person know who he was. All that was known was labels, and labels shoot each other, kill each other. Do away with each other out of rivalry. My label's better than your label. My group is better than your group. Your group is too threatening to me. So, if we did away with it, maybe then we would live in security. Maybe if 6 million Jews were done away with, the world could live in peace. Which reminds me of another very impressive incident which is reported by Bruno Bettelheim. As a Viennese psychiatrist who was imprisoned in concentration camp in Auschwitz for several years. One time he had frostbite, his hand was really in bad shape, there was danger of gangrene. And there was a dispensary, a little first aid station in that concentration camp, and he, with hundreds of other sick people lined up there to be helped, to be aided. And as he was standing there, people were mostly Jews, discussing, planning, working out a stratagem, how they were going to meet that SS man who was standing there at the door. And he was obviously turning everybody away. What were they going to say to him? And the idea of what he was like was paramount in the people's mind, and how one had to meet him. So people near Bettelheim planned to tell of their merits during the First World War. They had been soldiers too. They had fought in the ditches or wherever. or other sort of image-provoking stories to be told to an image. These are not Bettelheim's words, but this is the gist of his story. So when it came his turn, he realized he wasn't going to know what he was going to say. You're going to just meet up with his character. And he pointed out he was first mistreated, and then just out of nothing, no projection, just factual statements, he was taken into the dispensary and attended to, and he was given a pass to come back. Who are you? Who am I? Beyond all images, which seem to be so protective, so important, and so deadly. Do you know who you are? Asked Basui, the sick man. One's whole being is Buddha nature, says Basui. Of course, this may just be another word. What does it mean? Buddha means awake. Awake means wisdom, clarity, understanding, right action and love and compassion. One's whole being is the great way, says Basui. What is the great way? Something remote, an idea, something one is wondering whether we'll ever get onto it. Something lofty. Nansen says ordinary mind is the way. What is this ordinary mind? Wenang says one awakened thought in an ordinary man is a Buddha. One deluded thought in a Buddha is an ordinary man. You see, with each teacher, with each master, one has to get the terms clear, what is meant by ordinary. Sometimes ordinary means selfless, no me, no point of view, no perspective, no partiality. And sometimes it means all of that, an ordinary way of acting out of a partial view, self-centeredly. So Basui says one's whole being is the great way with capital. We at times have said, Dharma gates beyond measure, that's oneself, from moment to moment. I vow to penetrate. Can I be with it? Each moment, whether it's painful or joyful, despair, fear, can it be a Dharma gate? Meaning no label, not even Dharma gate, but hu or mu, right there. No separation. No separation. And no separation means no separation. No judge, no running, no expecting, no conditions. Unconditionally, no separation. There's a Tibetan prayer which starts with this one line. Whatever dawns on the path may I neither abandon nor adopt. May I neither abandon nor adopt. Neither run away from it, nor cling to it, or wallow in it. Basui continues, the substance of this way is inherently immaculate and transcends all forms. Man's own mind is the essential substance of all Buddhas, his face before his parents' birth. How does one listen to this? Substance of this way is inherently immaculate, transcends all form. If one doesn't understand, does one want it? Does one try to interpret it? Or think it's beyond me? Or blame oneself for one's lack of understanding? Or is it just listening, like to the rain on the pavement? Listen. Are the words rain on the pavement? Is that a question? What should I hear? Should I be hearing something? Or is there listening out of emptiness? Nothing, just attending. Really just attending. No one there. It is the master of seeing and hearing, of all the senses, this mind. Don't get entangled in verbiage, in words. If one doesn't understand, what does it mean? Who's hearing? Turn it into the question, into the koan. One who fully realizes this is a Buddha. One who does not is an ordinary human being. Are they different? Where does the differentiation occur? In thinking? Hence all Buddhas and patriarchs point directly to the human mind. So man can see his own self-nature and thereby attain Buddhahood. It's not that I see a self-nature, but this seeing, this quality of seeing is self-nature. And that there's no duality. The hearing is self-nature. The hearing is the seeing. They're not separate. Kensho means seeing into self-nature. Kanon, kan means seeing. What is this? For the best relief of one perplexed, by shadows is to see the real thing. For the best relief for one perplexed by shadows is to see the real thing. Shadows are the ideas, the words, the images, which hide what is. So maybe for the best relief for one perplexed by shadows is to see the perplexity first. It's an enormous step to take, to see how confused one is, that there's not clarity. And in this understanding is already lurking the judgment. Once a man was invited to the home of a friend. As he was about to drink a cup of wine offered him, he believed he saw a baby snake inside his cup. Not wishing to embarrass his host by drawing attention to it, he bravely swallowed it. I think we commented amply on this once. How far does one go with one's politeness? To swallow a snake? Wow. I don't know about those rules of etiquette at the Kamakura time, or whatever this was. It's not easy to. I remember going to people's houses and the dish was loaded up with food and I couldn't eat much. But you were offending the people if you said, wait a minute, I can't eat that much. So you got an upset stomach rather than offend. How can one say something without offending? Is it possible? Maybe with some hosts it isn't, because they're so identified with their meal. You're really hurting them. And yet, does one eat oneself sick? It's up to each one to see what to do. Upon returning home, he felt severe pains in the stomach. Yeah, you thought you'd swallowed that snake. All these books on nutrition circulating these days, you can really feel sick after almost anything you eat these days. Before you ever knew it, you never got sick from that stuff. Which doesn't mean one increases one's sensitivities a little bit as one knows a little bit more about nutrition, but one can go too far on that. What's sickening today may be health promoting tomorrow. So how does one develop one's own inner feeling for what one needs to eat without being influenced, which comes down to the question, how does one remain uninfluenced, which is no small question, no small thing. This whole thing of influence, one must be so aware of this. Many remedies were applied, but in vain, and the man, now grievously ill, felt he was about to die. His friend, hearing of his condition, asked him once more to his home. He knew about that. Seating his friend in the same place, he again offered him a cup of wine, telling him it was medicine. As the ailing man raised his cup to drink, he was still going along. Really a nice guy. Grievously ill, still got himself to that house somehow. I wonder how. Maybe by rickshaw. Once again he saw a baby snake in it. This time he drew his host's attention to it. He had learned something. At the point of death, all etiquette goes out the window. All of a sudden you become a free person. You can speak up. Without a word, the host pointed to the ceiling above his guest where a bow hung. Suddenly the sick man realized that the baby snake was the reflection of the hanging bow. Both men looked at each other and laughed. The pain of the sick man vanished instantly and he recovered his health. Becoming a Buddha, Basui says, is analogous to this. Becoming a Buddha. There's a whole koan, one of the beginning koans in the Mumonkan is about becoming, where a monk asks a master, I've heard that Daitsa Chisha Buddha, one of the ancient pre-Buddhas, sat in a meditation hall for 10,000 kalpas. He sat there on his meditation seat and he never attained Buddhahood. How come? And the master says, that's a good question. The monk, that wasn't a good answer for him. He persisted. He said, wait a minute, he practiced Zazen for 10 kalpas, 10,000 kalpas. And he didn't become a Buddha. Why not? And the master said, because he didn't. Must be careful with language. Language has power. This becoming. Does the bud become the leaf or the flower? What is becoming? If you see the flower and you think back on the bud, then you say in retrospect, thinking of course, that the bud has become the flower. So becoming is a thinking process. Flower is a flower, and it changes every instant. Does it change? Or is the changing of the flower, the changing of the leaves, is there a thinking process involved? Buddha once said, each thought is absolutely tranquil. Thought not just meaning thought. Each instant of awareness is just that, is absolutely tranquil and not connected with the next one. Dogen says, firewood does not become ashes. Firewood is firewood, ashes are ashes. You can write a scientific treatise on what's happening, but that's thinking, that's connecting the whole thing causally. We think in terms of cause and effect. Our whole thinking process is cause and effect. And that we impose upon the flow of life, which is ourselves. Basui continues. Do you need to become a Buddha? It's not Basui continuing. Or do you need to work just where you are, without separation? The practice, so all-consuming, so all-filling, there's no room for thinking about becoming anything. Because that's already a leak. Energy drains away. The patriarch Yoka said, when you realize the true nature of the universe, you know that there's neither subjective nor objective reality. It's a formidable sentence. Neither subjective nor objective reality means no me. No me. And no raindrops. No idea of me and no idea of raindrops. What is there? What is there really? At that very moment, Yoka continues, karmic formations which would carry you to the lowest hell are wiped out. At what moment? What is that moment? That moment of no image, no idea. You know, it's one idea that connects you with a whole ancestry of ideas. Going back to infinite past. They're all connected like a vast network. All ideas, all memories, connected in the brain. But if there is no idea, what are you connected to? What are you? When there's no idea. Karmic formations which would carry you to the lowest hell, there's one other quick thought. Wiped out. The slate wiped clean, the tape erased. Or is it? You must find out. Mustn't you? Maybe it's not so much karmic formations which would carry you to the hell, but maybe you're no longer in hell. You're already there. Tied up in knots of what you should do, shouldn't do, what you are and shouldn't be. Basui continues, this true nature is the root substance of every sentient being. This true nature, this what, this nothing, emptiness. But these are words. Find out for yourself. Emptiness, no me. No you. No duality. Emptiness. Listen. The substance of every sentient being. It's the substance of the rain, and of the pavement, and of the listener. But not the words. What is there when there are no words? Basui continues, man, however, can bring himself to believe that his own mind itself is the great completeness realized by the Buddha. So he clings to superficial forms and looks for truth outside the mind, striving to become a Buddha through ascetic practices. Of course, nobody ever said that man should believe that, least of all the Buddha. He must test it out, maybe as a last resort. Tried out everything else that hasn't worked. If you just erect a belief, that's more of the same that you've been doing for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Believe in saviors, in comforting deities. Some of them are not so comforting. As I felt as a child, that angry God was no comfort to this person. So he clings to superficial forms out of fear. The fear that comes with the loneliness of the me. Looks for truth outside this mind. What does it mean to look for truth inside the mind? You know, some people, if they own a car, they need to find out how that car functions. So they find out so that they really own it. Some people think, I can never understand that, so they always have to take it to a garage and depend. They have to pay high fees. Here, there's this mind that operates all the time, day and night. Doesn't one need to find out how that operates? Isn't it absolutely essential that one find out directly how this mind operates? What is thinking? What is seeing? What is illusion? What is reality? Not read it in books or believe that what somebody says because he's so great, has been called great by others. It's only if you know yourself how your mind functions, you will not be deluded and caught up in it. So whenever reading a text, I want to know what does he mean when he says that word. I want to see it here. Not just verbally, but directly in actuality. Or else it's just a word. It takes attention, awareness, and a tremendous urgency to understand the truth of this mind. The truth meaning how it works in both delusion and clarity. Illusion and clarity. For this I cannot afford to look outside. To an outside model. There are lots of brain models. Sometimes it's helpful, an analogy is helpful, but the analogy is not what is really going on in this mind. And not just in the mind, in this whole body, mind, and heart. All we know is words. All we know is words. So in doing this Zazen work, questioning, who am I? Or what is mu, which means no, nothing. But it's not the word. It was Joshua's full-bodied reply to a question. All of himself in that. Mu. The truth of Joshua is the truth of every human being. What is the truth of myself? What is mu? Who am I? Can I let go of what I know? Meaning not always resorting to that, taking refuge in that. But for once do something different, namely not knowing. And questioning out of not knowing into not knowing. Which is a slowing down, a quieting down up there. And working down here. Mu. But if you say you can't do it, who is saying it? You work where you are, in perplexity, in confusion, in despair or discouragement, whichever way. Oh, and a good feeling wells up. Who? It's there, it's there. Who? Mu. Not knowing, not labeling, but questioning. It's easy, even though it is so arduous. Because we're so driven back into words. This drivenness, that's energy. One doesn't look for security. Then one doesn't need words. And then this energy goes into who and mu. And what is it? Effortlessly. We'll stop here for today. The 4 vows.